Kodak announces a whole new way to make pictures. Introducing disc photography. The beginning is this, a unique film disc. A disc so thin there's room in the camera for an array of precision electronics. The new Kodak disc camera. Picture a brand new world. Press a single button and the new Kodak disc camera does it all. It reads the light. It knows when to flash and can flash again in 1 1/3 seconds. It even advances the film disc automatically. So you can capture those wonderful
In 1998, a man and his son, both smiling, posed for a photo in Omagh, Northern Ireland. The man wore a bright yellow sweater and he carried his son on his shoulders. They stood by a red car on a busy street. What they didn't know was the car held a terrible secret. 500 pounds or 226 kilograms of explosives. Soon after the photo, the explosives detonated, causing a devastating terrorist attack. This attack was carried out by the real Irish Republican Army, a group separate from the IRA. They disagreed with the ceasefire agreed upon earlier that year. The explosion killed 29 people, injured 220, and caused outrage nationally and internationally. Miraculously, the man and his son survived, but the photographer taking their photo sadly did not. David A. Johnston sits with his legs stretched out, a notebook and pen resting on his lap as he flashes a sunny smile to the camera. The photographer, Harry Glicken, a student of David's, captures the moment. David's demeanor is calm and enthusiastic, fitting for a volcanologist studying the restless Mount St. Helens. Tragically, just 13.5 hours later, David Johnston would meet his end in the eruption of Mount St. Helens. His final message, transmitted over the radio of the closest U.S. Geological Survey office, was a chilling declaration. Vancouver, Vancouver, this is it. Despite search efforts, David's remains were never recovered. Ironically, Harry Glicken was supposed to be on duty observing the volcano that day, but he exchanged shifts with David at the last minute due to an interview he had to attend. Upon learning of the eruption and David's death, Glicken was devastated. He joined helicopter crews in search of survivors for hours before being forced to stop. In a cruel twist of fate, Glicken would later perish in a separate volcanic eruption in Japan. In the woods, a 300 black bear lurks in the background of the photo, about 100 feet or 30 meters away, hidden behind a fallen log. It appears to be tracking the photographer's movements. The picture was taken by Darsh Patel, a 22-year-old Rutgers University student, using his phone. He and 4 friends from the university had ventured into West Milford's Upshur Preserve for a hike. However, their outing took a terrifying turn when the bear began chasing them. In a desperate bid to escape, they split up. When they regrouped later, they realized one of them was missing, Darsh Patel. His body was discovered 4 hours later, showing signs of a bear attack. Tragically, the bear he had photographed moments before had turned on him. Patel's phone, recovered with puncture marks, held the haunting image of the bear in the woods. Now, this next photo is particularly spooky and eerie, especially since it's a topic I covered in my first video on this channel. And with our subscriber count nearly reaching 300, I appreciate each and every one of you for joining us on this journey as we continue to grow. We may have some unfamiliar faces among us, so I'll take this opportunity to explain this mysterious case once more. In this eerie photo, two young women stand against the backdrop of Panama's untamed wilderness, smiling for a selfie. Those women are Chris Kermers and Lisane Froon, Dutch travelers embarking on a hike along the El Pianista Trail. Their journey began on April 1st at 11 a.m. However, alarm bells rang when they failed to show up for a planned appointment the next day, and their parents stopped receiving their usual daily texts. Concerned, the parents flew to Panama and launched a full-scale search with local authorities. For 10 days, the forest was searched, but no trace of the girls was found. It wasn't until weeks later that a breakthrough occurred. A woman turned in a blue backpack belonging to Froon, containing personal items such as a camera and their phones. Examination of the phones revealed attempts to dial emergency numbers shortly after the hike began, but due to poor reception, the calls did not connect. Froon's phone died on April 4th, while Kermis's phone sporadically turned on between the 5th and 11th, with incorrect PIN entries or no entry at all. Perhaps the most unsettling discovery came from the camera found in the backpack. 90 flash photos were taken between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., capturing pitch black darkness deep within the jungle. Among these images was a chilling photograph showing the back of Kermis's head, with blood staining her hair. 2 months later, additional remains were discovered, a pelvis and a foot inside the boot. DNA testing confirmed these belonged to Chris Kermers and Lisane Froon. Despite investigations, the circumstances surrounding their deaths remain shrouded in mystery, hauntingly unanswered to this day. The photo captures a moment from the popular 1970s TV show, The Dating Game, featuring two individuals standing side by side, the woman, Cheryl Bradshaw, and the man, Rodney James Alcala. During his appearance on The Dating Game, Rodney presented himself as a successful photographer, boasting about his early start in the field and his adventurous hobbies such as skydiving and motorcycling. Despite his charming facade, Cheryl Bradshaw found him unsettling and refused to go on a date with him, describing him as creepy. Cheryl Bradshaw made the right choice by trusting her instincts and refusing to go on a date with Rodney Alcala. Little did she know, he was not the charming photographer he portrayed himself to be on The Dating Game. Instead, he was a cold-blooded killer, hiding in plain sight. He would strangle his victims to unconsciousness, allowing them to regain consciousness only to repeat the process multiple times before finally killing them. His brutality earned him the moniker of a killing machine, and although the exact number of the victims remains unknown, he was ultimately convicted of 7 murders. If Cheryl had accepted his invitation, she could have become another tragic victim of Rodney Alcala's merciless spree. Imagine a story from the late 1940s involving Russian scientists and an eerie experiment. These scientists wanted to see what would happen if people were deprived of sleep using a special gas. The experiment involved unwilling prisoners, and as the tale goes, things quickly spiraled into madness. The test subjects began experiencing horrifying hallucinations and eventually turned on each other in unspeakable ways. This story, known as the Russian sleep experiment, gained popularity online for its chilling premise. Despite its terrifying nature, it's important to remember that it's just a work of fiction, a creepy tale spun from the imagination of internet storytellers. In the images we've seen, there's a good twist to their stories. Despite their eerie appearance, they hold an interesting backstory. Let's take a closer look. First up, we have what's known as the image. This spooky photo has caused many sleepless nights for those who've seen it, but the truth behind it is surprisingly simple. What looks like a terrifying scene is actually just a Halloween decoration called Spasm. You can buy it online or at certain Halloween stores. Next, we have the photo of men in gas masks. These masks might give you chills, but they're not from any sinister experiment. In fact, they're a historical snapshot from 1917, showing soldiers displaying gas masks from the US, Britain, France, and Germany. The context surrounding the image has been cropped out, but it's a fascinating glimpse into the past. So while these images may have given you goosebumps, they also show how our imagination can sometimes run wild. It's a good ending compared to the rest of the photos we've seen in this video,